Ohun mẹ́ta la fọmọrí odó ṣe, àforí rẹ̀ gúnyán, àfìdí rẹ̀ gún ẹ̀lù, àsìfagbede méjì rẹ̀ tilẹ̀kùn gbọ̀ngbọ̀n. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel, and if it's your first time here, hit the subscribe button. If you like what I'm about, follow my channel, hit the like button and support me how you can by sharing my videos, by liking, all that stuff. So as I told you last week, today I want to talk about like doing a PhD, why you should do one, why you should not do one. And the reason I want to talk about this is because about 1 month ago, a friend of mine, he living in Munich here, he called me and he told me that we were talking, and he told me that he works for a company now as an architect. And during the conversation, he told me something. He said he's even looking for a new job that will pay him a little more money than the current job is paying him. And I was like, that's a very, very good idea. It's always good to maximize your income, especially at a very young age, so that by the time you are maybe in your mid-30s or 40s, your income, your earning potential will be really, really high. So I encouraged him to go for this new option. Then he told me that he was calling me because he wanted to know about PhD programs and how to apply for the programs. So I told him that before I tell him how to apply, because application for a PhD is the easiest part of the whole process, I said I would discuss with him why he should or should not do a PhD. So I asked him why he wanted to do a PhD, and my friend found it difficult to, say in a concrete fashion the reason for him wanting to do a PhD. He just said he wanted to do a PhD, And so one of the first things I told him was that just by listening to the first few minutes of our conversation where you told me that you wanted to get a new job and leave your current job because you wanted more money, I told him immediately that I don't think a PhD would be the best option for him, because it's obvious that as he is interested in maximizing his earning potential, and a PhD would never help him to do that, because during those years of doing the PhD, he's going to earn a very poor salary, and this is going to go against his own desire of making more money. He would even likely earn less than his current job, So he now mentioned to me that the reason he wants to do a PhD is basically because his father wants him to. I think if I remember correctly, his elder brothers or one of them has a PhD, either one or both of them have PhDs. So his father is like, okay, you to get your PhD so that I can be, gallivanting with my children all around and saying, I'm going to be local with a PhD. So I told him that that's perhaps the wrongest reason to enroll into a PhD program. So in this short video, I would look at the reasons why you shouldn't do a PhD and why you should do a PhD and what you should think about when you want to enroll into a PhD program. So let's get right into it. So why do you want to do a PhD? Many times you talk to people and they have very wrong reasons for wanting to do a PhD. Some people, they tell you that they want to do a PhD because it's prestigious, People call them doctor. People will see them as very, very smart people. They think it makes them, do I say the elephant in the room or whatever it is, the person in the room that everybody is looking at and everybody wants to get to know just because they have a PhD. So they like this prestige. And some people do a PhD because of family pressure. I know some people who have been in this situation before. Their parents say things like, get your BSc. When you get your BSc, get your MSc. When you get your MSc, you get your PhD, and that's the end. So their parents want to brag with the children and say, oh, my child is a doctor, my child has a PhD degree, my child is very, very smart. They want their friends to also see their children as smart. So they push their children or their family members into PhD programs. And another reason why people do a PhD is that sometimes the PhD can serve as a means for you to avoid facing the reality of life, because the university environment is like, as it's called, it's an ivory tower. So you are shielded from the realities going on in the street. If you recall, for those of us who studied our BSc in Nigeria, who are still studying in Nigeria, regardless of how tough the Nigerian situation is, if you're on campus, you're in the hostel, you have some pocket money from your family, this and that, you are fine. You are not suffering. You are living with other people in the hostel. You are going to class. You are coming back. You don't even know that Nigeria is tough. You don't even know that the economy is bad and things like that. So it's the same abroad here also. Being in the university shields you from the realities of life. And some people, when they finish their BSc or their MSc, they don't feel ready to face those challenges of life yet, like getting a job, waking up at 6 every day to get to work by 8, finishing by 5, working on projects, deadlines, this and that, making money, sustaining themselves and the family. So they feel like, let me just enroll into a PhD program and let me still be inside this university system. And they keep doing the PhD for that reason. And this is not a good reason to do a PhD also. So some other people, they get their MSc degrees and they feel like, okay, I have my MSc now. I didn't prepare myself to go into the job market. What am I going to do? This particular one is very common amongst those of us who are immigrants in Europe and America. And I don't blame anybody for this. So a person leaves a country like Nigeria, moves to Germany, for greener pasture, and studies their master's degree. Before you know it, 2 years are over and your master's degree is over. You're now given a short-term visa to find a job. If you don't find a job within a certain time frame, you have to leave the country. In a place like UK, before it was within like 1 month after your studies. If you don't find a job, you have to leave the country. And imagine how difficult it is to find a job within 1 month. Even within 6 months, it's very difficult. A job search can take about a year. And so many people in this position, they feel like, okay, I don't think I can find a job in this short period. Let me enroll to a PhD program. Because the truth be told, it's very easy to get admitted into a PhD program. PhD salaries are very, very poor. The salaries are very low. And there's always open positions because professors are always looking for people who don't mind to earn a small salary and to do a lot of work for them. So it's common that many people, they go into PhD programs for this reason. Just a moment, please. So it can sometimes be difficult for a person to juggle the MSc with the job search and all that kind of stuff. For those kind of people, if you're not deeply interested in your mind to do a PhD, I would suggest that the moment you start your master's degree abroad, any country you are, right from that day you start, begin to think about what you want to do post-graduation. Think about what you want to do when you're done with your master's degree. Don't wait until the degree is almost over before you start looking for jobs and then being forced into a PhD program. A PhD is something you should do because you really, really want to do it, not because you feel like you don't have any other option. And so, another thing I have to mention here is that doing a PhD is a very, very significant time investment and it might not necessarily pay off. You spend about at least 4 years on a PhD and it can take up to 6 years. And when you are done with this kind of stuff, if you want to remain in academia, you have to realize that there are not many open positions in academia. So the likelihood you get an academic job as a professor is very, very slim. So you want to go into the industry. And when you get into the industry, many companies would not necessarily put you at a very high level position just because you're coming with a PhD. You'd generally go in with the people, with the beginners, with the people who have MScs in the same level, or maybe just one level higher. And you realize that the amount of money you are earning, it's not really commensurate to the skills you've gathered. So, and when you think about the fact that in those 4 to 6 years of doing your PhD, you missed out on a lot of money you could have earned working for a company. So you're earning maybe a little over 1,000 euros, for example, as a PhD salary. And if you're working for a company, you could have been earning times 2 of that money every month, knowing fully well that every year your salary will increase, and you have pension and you have all these other benefits attached to a full-time job. So the opportunity cost for doing a PhD is the amount of money you would lose and the amount of time you need to, and the amount of growth, that you would have lost if just by being in the PhD instead of being at a company. So you have to really think about if this is something that you want. 4 to 6 years is a very, very long time, and there's no prestige in being called a PhD holder. The truth of the matter is that there are so many people with PhDs. Having a PhD is nothing special. It doesn't mean you are super intelligent. Let me tell you something. If you enroll into a PhD program today, as long as you don't drop out from that program and you keep pushing through, you eventually get the PhD. But it doesn't mean that you've done any work of high quality. So there are many people with PhDs all over the world, but only few of them have done very high quality work. And it's this quality of work that separates the employable from the unemployable PhD candidates. So an outside observer would see everybody with a PhD and say, oh, I'm a mini PhD. My child has a PhD. He's a PhD holder. Oh, all this kind of stuff. But those of us who are doing this PhD, we know those people who have a good PhD thesis and those people who have a rubbish thesis. like I said before, as long as you stick to the program and you don't drop out and you just fulfill the basic requirements, you'll be given a PhD degree. But it's not a stamp on your intelligence, it's not a stamp on how smart you are, it's not a stamp on how good your PhD work was. So when you think about the kind of prestige you get from doing a PhD, maybe you think people are going to look at you like a genius or something like that, forget about it, man. It's not real. So, and I wanted to talk then about why you should do a PhD. You know, if you think you want to do a PhD, you should do a PhD only if you are very curious about your field. So you feel like there's some interesting problems that are in the field and you like to solve, and you feel like you can contribute something to these problems, you should do a PhD then. So for me, for example, I've always wanted to do a PhD right from when I was at Unilag, and when my current advisor told me that the project, he described the project to me that we're going to work on, and he was like, he thinks I'm a good fit for this project. I looked at the project and I thought about it by myself a bit, and I realized that, yeah, it's something I wanted to work on, and that's why I accepted the position, you know. So it's something that I'm really passionate about, and every time I go to work, I'm happy to set up my simulations and write the codes and do everything, because I don't really feel forced to do it. And whenever there are bad days, which of course they are, I don't mind staying at the office till 11 p.m., you know, and then getting home around 1, just to debug my code, just to fix something about my code, just to make sure that my work is good. And that's because I really like what I'm doing. But if you don't really like what you're doing, if you are forced by your family or by society, social pressure, when it gets to this kind of point when you have to stay at work till 11 or 12 midnight, you feel like, no, what am I doing here? Let me be going home. You know, so do a PhD only if you are curious about your field. Do a PhD only if you can sustain the pressure for the long run. Like I said before, a PhD can take anywhere from 4 to 6 years. And if you feel like you are easily frustrated, or when you stumble upon hard times in your project, or when your advisor is saying do something and you feel like that's not the right step for you, you are frustrated, how do you handle these kinds of feelings? If you feel like, oh, I don't care, Joe, I don't even care about the program anyway, then don't do a PhD. But if you feel like, okay, no matter the challenges, I'm going to be happy to stick to this program and to do it up to the end, I'll see it through, then the PhD is for you. Also, if you're the kind of person who can be patient with a problem and say, okay, you know what, I don't mind dedicating 1 year of my life looking at one particular problem, you know, trying to understand the problem, understand the techniques for solving the problem, and then solving it, then do a PhD. Contrary to many people's expectations, you don't need to be some kind of genius to do a PhD. As a matter of fact, the people who end up succeeding very much in a PhD program are people who have the ability to sit down and grind. You know, they have the ability to every day show up. The little progress they make every day is what accumulates into that PhD thesis. So the best candidates are not the ones who are so intelligent, you know, and all. Because no matter how intelligent you are, if you're not able to come and show up every day, put in the hours, do the research, grind, you won't get a good PhD. So the people who put in that grind, regardless of how intelligent or whatever it is they are, they end up doing a good work. So if you can cope with the poor salary, you should do a PhD also. The PhD salary is very, very poor. Your friends in industry will be earning ×2 or more than what you earn. So you begin to ask yourself, like, that 20-year-old, that 21-year-old who finished from school and went directly to a company, the person is earning more than me, you know, and you and your mid-20s or your late 20s or your early 30s, you know, so you begin to think, like, do I want to continue living on this kind of salary for 4 or 6 years? If you don't mind living on that kind of poor salary for that time frame, a PhD is for you also. So if you can take your mind away from peer pressure, from social pressure, you don't care about what people say about you. Like me, for example, my family sometimes, they ask me, when am I finishing my PhD? And I tell them, oh, you know what, I don't know yet. I'm enjoying the project. I don't know when it's going to be over. I'm not thinking about the end point now. I'm just gathering as much skills as I can gather. You know, if you are not going to crumble under the pressure, then a PhD program is for you. When you finish a PhD program, you know, it puts you in a good position eventually. You've become an expert in a particular field. You've become knowledgeable about a particular field. And you are also very employable if you develop the right set of skills. The PhD also gives you an opportunity during that period to reflect on yourself and say, okay, what do I really want out of life? What do I really want out of a career? Like me now, since I started my PhD program, I've thought about the kind of career I want, whether I want to be in academia, whether I want to go to the industry. If I want to go to the industry, what kind of industry do I want to go to? And what skills do they require? And so in this time of my PhD, I'm developing skills that would ensure that whether I go to the industry or I stay in academia, I'm in a good position to land myself a good offer after my PhD program. I'm not in a rush to finish, because I'm not under any pressure from anybody, So if you want to do a PhD program, consider everything I've mentioned in this video and weigh your options carefully. Don't rush into a PhD program. Don't do a PhD program just because you don't have no other choice available to you. Try to create opportunity for yourself. During your master's degree, go to job fairs, job mensa, job fairs everywhere they are doing them. Talk to recruiters. Ask your lecturers and professors for opportunities, for job opportunities, connect with people in the industry and develop those skills that people need in the industry. And when you do that, if you have all those skills, you become very employable. If at that point you still want to do a PhD, then go for it because it's truly your passion. But if you do it because you are forced to do it and you have no other option, then you might be frustrated. So alright guys, that's everything I want to talk about in the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share my video with your other friends and followers. I'll see you next week. Bye.